The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Alistair, a 46-year-old architect in Seattle, had always prided myself on my ability to design structures that stood the test of time, solid and dependable. But my own life, the foundation I thought was unshakable, was crumbling before my eyes. It started subtly. Bronte, my wife of 18 years, a vibrant and successful marketing executive, began to change. The easy laughter that had filled our home was replaced by a strained politeness. Late nights at the office became more frequent, and her explanations grew vague. I chalked it up to the pressures of her demanding job, always giving her the benefit of the doubt. After all, we had built a life together, a beautiful home overlooking Puget Sound, two wonderful children, and a shared history that felt as solid as the mountains surrounding us. But then came the whispers, the nagging feeling that something was terribly wrong. I found myself checking her phone when she was in the shower, a behavior so unlike me that it shamed me even as I did it. The messages were innocuous enough, work-related emails and texts from friends, but there was a sense of incompleteness, of conversations deleted or hidden. I tried to dismiss my suspicions, reminding myself of the trust we had always shared. The first real crack appeared during our anniversary trip to Vancouver. We had planned a romantic getaway, a chance to reconnect and rekindle the spark that had seemed to dim in recent months. But Bronte was distant, preoccupied. She spent hours on her phone, claiming she was dealing with a crisis at work. One evening, while she was on a call in the hotel lobby, I decided to take a walk along the waterfront. As I strolled, I saw her, sitting on a bench, not on a call but deeply engrossed in conversation with a man. I couldn't see his face, but I could see the way she was looking at him, a look I hadn't seen directed at me in years, a look of pure adoration. I felt a punch to the gut, a cold wave of nausea washing over me. I wanted to confront her, to demand an explanation, but something held me back. I turned and walked away, the image of her face etched into my mind. The rest of the trip was a blur of forced smiles and strained conversations. I couldn't bring myself to address what I had seen, and Bronte didn't offer any explanation. We returned to Seattle, the unspoken truth hanging heavy between us. Back home, the tension intensified. I became obsessed with uncovering the truth. I started paying closer attention to her schedule, her phone calls, her emails. I felt like a detective in my own home, a role I never wanted to play. One evening, while Bronte was at a conference dinner, I decided to do something I never thought I was capable of. I went through her laptop. It was password protected, of course, but I knew her well, or at least I thought I did. I tried our anniversary date, our children's birthdays, our street address. Nothing. Then, on a whim, I tried the name of our favorite restaurant, the small Italian place where we had our first date. It worked. The floodgates opened. Emails, messages, photos, a torrent of evidence that confirmed my worst fears. Bronte was having an affair, and it wasn't just a casual fling. It was a deep, passionate relationship with a man named Jasper, a colleague from her office. The messages spanned months, filled with declarations of love, intimate details of their encounters, and plans for a future together. I sat there, numb, the laptop shaking in my hands. The world around me seemed to fade away, replaced by a deafening silence. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a sea of betrayal. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built my life with, had been lying to me, deceiving me for months. The pain was unbearable, a sharp, agonizing ache in my chest. When Bronte came home that night, I was waiting for her. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. I simply showed her the laptop. Her face drained of color as she read the messages, her eyes wide with panic. "Alistair, I can explain," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Explain what, Bronte? Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could lie to me for so long." "It just happened," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean for it to go this far, it just happened," I repeated, my voice rising. "You didn't mean for it to go this far. You were planning a future with him, Bronte. You were talking about leaving me." She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, Alistair. I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did hurt me, Bronte," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You shattered everything I thought we had. That night we barely slept. We talked for hours, or rather, Bronte talked and I listened, trying to make sense of the senseless. She claimed she was unhappy, that she felt neglected, that she needed something more than our life together could offer. But her words rang hollow, excuses for a betrayal that had no justification. The days that followed were a living hell. I moved into the guest room, unable to bear the thought of sharing a bed with her. The children sensed the tension, their innocent faces reflecting the turmoil in our home. I tried to shield them from the truth, telling them that Mom and Dad were going through a difficult time. I consulted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Vivian, who laid out the options. Divorce was the only viable path forward, she advised. Bronte had broken our vows, betrayed our trust, and there was no going back. The thought of ending our marriage, of dismantling the life we had built together, was devastating. But I knew deep down that I couldn't stay with her. The trust was gone, irrevocably broken. As the divorce proceedings began, I learned more about Jasper. He was a younger man, ambitious and charismatic, a rising star in Bronte's company. He was also married, with 2 young children of his own. The irony was not lost on me. Bronte had destroyed our family for a man who was doing the same to his. I confronted Jasper, a meeting I will never forget. I found him at a bar near his office, nursing a drink. He was taken aback when I approached him, his face paling as he recognized me. "Alistair," he said, his voice barely audible, "I didn't know you were coming." "I wanted to look you in the eye," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I wanted to see the man who destroyed my marriage." He stammered, trying to apologize, to explain, but I cut him off. "You don't get to apologize," I said. "You don't get to explain. You made a choice, and that choice has consequences." I told him about the pain he had caused, the devastation he had wrought. I told him about my children, about the shattered dreams, about the life that had been irrevocably changed. He listened in silence, his eyes filled with shame. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I truly am sorry isn't enough," I said. "You'll never understand the damage you've done." I walked away, leaving him to his guilt. But my anger wasn't enough to fill the emptiness inside me. The divorce was finalized and Bronte moved out. The house felt empty, hollow, a shell of its former self. The children struggled to understand, their confusion and sadness adding to my own pain. One evening, a few months after the divorce, I received a phone call from an unknown number. It was Jasper's wife, Isolde. She had found out about the affair and had left him. She was heartbroken, devastated, and alone. We met for coffee, 2 strangers bound together by a shared experience of betrayal. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our anger. We found solace in each other's company, a sense of understanding that no one else could provide. Isolde and I became friends, supporting each other as we navigated the wreckage of our lives. We helped each other heal, to rebuild, to find a new sense of purpose. We never became romantically involved, but our friendship was a lifeline, a reminder that we weren't alone. Bronte, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Her relationship with Jasper quickly deteriorated. His wife leaving him, coupled with the guilt of what they did, created an unsustainable environment for their affair. He eventually left her, returning to his wife and begging for forgiveness, which, to my surprise, she eventually granted. Bronte was left alone, ostracized by her friends and colleagues, her reputation tarnished. She tried to reach out to me, to apologize, to ask for forgiveness, but I couldn't give it to her. The wounds were too deep, the scars too permanent. I focused on my children, on my work, on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy, but I persevered. I learned to live with the pain, to accept the past, and to look forward to the future. I started dating again, cautiously, tentatively. I met a wonderful woman named Genevieve, who was kind, compassionate, and understanding. She had also been through a difficult divorce and knew what it was like to rebuild a life after betrayal. We connected on a deep level, and I found myself falling in love again. One day, I received a letter from Bronte. It was a long, rambling apology, filled with regret and remorse. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had thrown away something precious for a fleeting moment of passion. She asked for my forgiveness, not for her sake, but for the sake of our children. I thought about it for a long time. I realized that holding onto my anger and resentment was only hurting me. I decided to forgive her, not because she deserved it, but because I needed to move on. I wrote her back, a short, simple letter telling her that I forgave her and that I hoped she could find peace. life is unpredictable, full of unexpected twists and turns. Betrayal is a devastating experience, but it doesn't have to define you. You can survive it, you can heal, and you can find happiness again. It takes time, it takes courage, and it takes a willingness to let go of the past. But it is possible. I never thought I would find love again after Bronte's betrayal. I thought my heart was broken beyond repair. But Genevieve showed me that love is resilient, that it can blossom even in the darkest of times. We got married last year in a small ceremony surrounded by our family and friends. As I stood at the altar looking into her eyes, I knew that I had found my happy ending. I had rebuilt my life stronger and more resilient than before, and I was finally at peace. But the story doesn't end there. A few years later, I received a call from my son, Finley. He was furious. Apparently, Bronte had been telling people that I was the reason for the divorce, painting herself as the victim. Finley, now old enough to understand the truth, confronted her. The argument escalated, and Bronte, in a fit of anger, revealed a shocking secret. Jasper wasn't just an affair partner, he was Finley's biological father. The revelation hit Finley hard, shattering his world. He felt betrayed not just by Bronte but by Jasper, the man he had always known as a family friend. He cut off all contact with Bronte and struggled to come to terms with the truth. I was stunned, speechless. The betrayal had gone deeper than I could have ever imagined. Bronte had not only cheated on me, but she had also lied about the paternity of my son. The anger I thought I had buried resurfaced, stronger than ever. I supported Finley as he navigated this new reality. We talked for hours, sharing our pain, our anger, our confusion. I reminded him that he was loved, that he was valued, and that he was not defined by Bronte's lies or Jasper's betrayal. Finley eventually decided to confront Jasper. He arranged a meeting, a tense and emotional encounter that left both men shaken. Jasper admitted the truth, expressing his regret and remorse. He had always known that Finley was his son, but he had been too afraid to reveal the secret. Finley struggled to forgive Jasper, but he eventually came to a place of acceptance. He realized that holding onto his anger was only hurting him. He decided to focus on the future, on building his own life, free from the shadows of the past. Bronte, on the other hand, faced the consequences of her actions. Her lies were exposed, her reputation further tarnished. She was left alone, isolated and filled with regret. Her attempt to rewrite history had backfired, revealing a truth that was far more damaging than she could have ever imagined. As for me, I found a new sense of peace. I had survived Bronte's betrayal, I had rebuilt my life, and I had supported my son through a devastating revelation. I had learned that forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others, but about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I had learned that love is resilient, that it can heal even the deepest wounds. And I had learned that the truth, no matter how painful, will always come to light eventually. My life with Genevieve is filled with love, laughter, and happiness. We have created a blended family, a tapestry woven from different threads but bound together by love and understanding. I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, for the challenges I have overcome, and for the love that has sustained me through it all. Bronte's betrayal was a dark chapter in my life, but it was not the end of the story. It was a catalyst for growth, for healing, and for finding a love that is true and lasting. And I am grateful for that.